Happy Thanksgiving from Drive Thru History. This week, get 22% off Adventures All Access when you use the code Thanksgiving. I'm grateful for all of you.
New York City, the Big Apple, the city that never sleeps. Since I'm here, I thought I would tell you about some really unique Thanksgiving Day traditions that started on the streets of New York. November 25th, 1783 was celebrated as the day that British forces finally left New York City after the Revolutionary War. Known as Evacuation Day, there was a long tradition of celebrating its anniversary each year around Thanksgiving, with costumes, parties, and parades in the streets. In fact, Evacuation Day was a major holiday in New York until 1888. So it was a popular Thanksgiving tradition for decades. Nobody really knows the connection to Evacuation Day, but at some point, men known as the Fantasticals also started dressing up in crazy costumes and parading through New York City around Thanksgiving. A few historians say the Fantasticals were somehow related to Guy Fawkes Day, celebrated in England on November 5th, but nobody really knows for sure. Just another eccentric Thanksgiving tradition that stuck around for years. Then, sometime around 1817, kids started dressing up in costumes and roaming the streets too. Instead of the trick-or-treat that we hear at Halloween, kids could be heard saying, "Please, mister, a penny or a nickel for Thanksgiving." It came to be known as Ragamuffin Day. How did begging start as a Thanksgiving tradition? Well, it's thought that New Yorkers somehow combined Evacuation Day street parties with an old New England Thanksgiving custom. A New York Times article in 1893 explained. In an old book descriptive of New England characters and customs, one reads that on Thanksgiving Eve, it was the custom of poorer people, servants, and dependents to go to the houses of the rich to ask for substantials to help celebrate the coming feast day. And the richer people felt it incumbent upon their dignity and hospitality not to allow anyone to go away from their doors empty-handed. So in New York City, Thanksgiving, kids, costumes, and begging all combined into one street tradition known as Ragamuffin Day. By the 1880s and 1890s, more and more children took to the streets dressed as ragamuffins. Along the way, they added pilgrims, Indians, Uncle Sams, and other characters to the mix. By the beginning of the 20th century, New York City was crowded on Thanksgiving Day with rowdy, costume-begging children. The New York Times again described the scene. From early morning to late evening, thousands of children roamed in ragamuffin costume, blowing horns, throwing harmless missiles, and playing at begging. The practice of dressing up as ragamuffins seems to be growing among the city children each Thanksgiving Day, and the parents of many seem to take an interest in the displays, judging by the great variety and fantastic costumes which the children wear. In 1925, the Madison Square Boys Club held the first of what became an annual Thanksgiving Day parade to protest children begging for money. The boys carried banners reading, "American boys don't beg." This was the beginning of the end for Ragamuffin Day. After the stock market crash in 1929, money became tight for everyone. Then, through the 1930s, New York City schools and the Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Children openly discouraged kids from Thanksgiving begging. The Boys Club also threw a Thanksgiving party to help keep kids off the streets, where they offered a turkey prize to the child with the best costume. Finally, Mayor LaGuardia imposed a ban on all begging or panhandling in New York City, which included children on Thanksgiving Day. Despite some holdouts, the tradition died a little more each year until Ragamuffin Day disappeared into history by the beginning of World War II. So, now you know. Thanksgiving can be a very lonely day for some people. It can also be the start of a very lonely holiday season for others. At its heart, the story of Ragamuffin Day here in New York City reminds us to help out the poor and downtrodden, the homeless and the lonely. It's just the right thing to do around Thanksgiving. Maybe serving at a soup kitchen, homeless shelter, or a church outreach. Maybe opening our homes to a coworker, single person, or someone who has recently lost a loved one. You know, that's something we should all strive to do better on Thanksgiving Day.
Oh, hi. Dave Stotts here. I'm out in the field with Trigger, and I'm here to tell you, hit like and subscribe. I mean, how hard can it be? And while you're at it, click the little bell up top for more of me.